Salvador had a quite special childhood. He was a very spoiled child who always received what he wanted, and because of his parents' money, he was full of luxuries. As a child, he proved to have a great mind for solving all kinds of problems. He was, without a doubt, the most viable candidate to take over the family business, with his only sister, Linda, showing no interest at all. During his preteen years, he analyzed his has kind of skills and took advantage of them. He discovered that he was capable of getting people to do whatever he wanted without the need of begging or blackmailing them. Not, but not everything was good for him. He began to suffer from severe migraines and nosebleeds, as well as a fatigue almost daily. He was regularly considered as someone charismatic and well received by others, but was incapable of forming great bonds with anyone, despite his appearance of being very nice and friendly with everyone. When he turned 14, he started visiting the family business more frequently to learn how to work, remaining as an apprentice until he came of age to run the business.
Salvador was a child who had everything he wanted. He had the best grades in his school and had everything going as he had planned to. That until his sister announced that she was getting married to a man called Warren Buckerman. When his father first saw Warren, he knew he had the best option in front of him or the next CEO of the family's company. That made Salvador angry, and he argued with his father. That until his sister announced again something, this time being that she was pregnant with a girl. Salvador thought this was his opportunity for him to changing his father's decision. His niece Sarah was born, and his father died of a heart attack. That completely destroyed Salvador, and he broke all the relationships left with his family.
In this part, we can watch Salvador taking the decision of going back to the beginning and starting from zero, creating his own business because he was like so mad at his father for not letting him be the CEO of his company. He thought he was ready and was more than prepared for to be the CEO. So he began from zero, and he created this super insane electrical system with all the knowledge he had in systems and machines. So at that moment he realized that taking revenge on his brother-in-law was not so far as he thought.
It was not until he was told that his mother was about to die because of a teratoma that he contacted his family again, not wanting to waste the little time he had left with his mother. However, when he saw his sister's family in the hospital room, he lost it. He lost all control over his body, over himself. He couldn't bear all the emotions that were running through his body. Everything was just fine before everyone decided that he was no longer good enough and that the other man was the perfect heir. Even if he was not blood related to his father, all this time he was trying to convince himself that maybe it was the right choice to let him win, when in reality he knew it wasn't and refused to see it. For the first time in years, he faced Warren and shouted every single little feeling he had kept inside for all this time. To his sister, he just looked at her with rage and sadness. After all, she knew he'd always wanted all the things they now had. The little girl just stood there looking at his uncle with a blank expression, not understanding anything that was happening. Every little thing he had felt over the past years was now out. So he exits the room, swearing things will not be the same from that moment.
After all this discussion, Salvador finds out that his mother passed away. So this is like a breaking point in the character because he had all of this discussion in his head, all the feelings of not being like worthy of the company, even if he does. And this mixed out with his mother's death adds a breaking point here because here's what makes him make the decision of to make an action in all of what is happening in his life and take revenge of his sister. And this is when he decides to use his electrical gun so he can make damage in the ship that his sister is going to use for a trip. But the thing is that even if he wanted to make revenge, it didn't come as he thought.
It went absolutely better. The boat had not only stopped, but actually exploded. A smile appeared into Salvador's face and gave away the fact that he was satisfied. Not only had his plans been successful, but absolutely breathtaking. That was something he would not forget, not even as time went by. That would mark the end of an era and the beginning of a new one in which he would finally be able to be the CEO of the company that he always dreamed of, and one in which he could finally be able to have everything he wanted. He had not considered the fact that his niece wouldn't be on the boat, or the fact that he would have to raise her. After that, he became her tutor, and as she grew older, she reminded him more and more of his mother, both physical and in her behavior. That somehow managed to keep him from committing crimes for a while. However, it wasn't enough. It will never be. Every day that passed, his mind became more and more twisted. His desire for chaos and seeing others suffer as he had to, until he could no longer be called sane. And even the people around his company began to notice as well as his niece. He tried to hide it from Sarah, but he was too excited to be able to do it completely. He had plans for her.
Okay, so my final ending is where Salvador has to accept his father's final decision with the family's company. But on that point, he doesn't trust anyone. So he is alone and has a lot of pain. So the only way he finds to feel better is to kill himself.
In my ending, however, after he killed Sarah's parents, he realized everything he fought for was now his. So he had the family business. He accomplished what he always wanted. So it was now time to wait for Sarah to turn 18, and so he did. But days after she turned 18, he decided to take action again because he will not allow Sarah to run the family business instead of him, as he did with her parents. So he again used his electric gun when Sarah was swimming in the ocean at noon, and he killed her. After that, he made it seem it was a thunderstorm was happening in that moment, so he made it seem like he was it was just an accident, so people wouldn't think it was actually him. After some time, he again came back to the business, and everybody thought he must be devastated but because of that, he started having trouble with people. They will accuse him and they will always fight and argue about stuff of the company. So after some time, that type of issues made it to the main page of the newspaper. The case was reopened after some time. Police discovered that it was actually him who killed the Bookerman. So they arrested him, and after some time, he killed himself because he had way too many years in prison.
So, in my personal ending, the boat sank and Sarah's parents died in that accident. So, Salvador will be regretful of that decision because he wanted revenge, but he didn't want to kill Sarah's parents. So, he decided to take care of Sarah as if she was his daughter. And it was kind of a mixed feeling for him because he wanted the company, he wanted to own the company, but he didn't want to cause that much of a damage in Sarah. So he decided that he will be keeping the company, but he wouldn't talk about that thing with Sarah, so she wouldn't really take care of that, or she really didn't have her birthright over the company, so he could conserve that. And as Sarah grew up, she didn't really care about the company and owning it, so she decided to give her birthright to Salvador. So at my ending, he actually won. He owned the company.
So my ending happens when the moment for Salvador to give the company to Sarah finally arrives, and he gets like crazy mad and tries to destroy everything around him again. But then he tempers and tries to, well, he remembers that he had built a plan during all those years to keep the company. And when the authorities arrived and the legal processes began and all that stuff, he used his ability to convince or trick people into doing what he wanted. So when he was about to convince the authorities that he should keep the company, Sarah arrives with a huge discovery, and this discovery was that she knew who killed their parents, where were her parents, who killed her parents, and when. So when she tells the authorities what happened and who did it, the authorities were shocked and immediately took action with Salvador and took him to jail. And Salvador didn't know what was happening and why it was happening. And then he had a chance to speak with Sarah, and Sarah told him that she knew what happened, that during all those years that she had been looking for her parents in the deep sea, and with her special abilities, she discovered what really happened to her parents.